But I read this story today and I've been on TV all week long saying the Heat have no chance. The Heat are going down in 5. This is a mismatch of epic proportions. And then I read this article by Rob Parker saying that, hold the phones. These Miami Heat look familiar. They look like the 2004 Detroit Pistons. You didn't predict the upset, as that Pistons team, of course, upset Shaq and Kobe's Lakers in 5. So first thing I want to know is, what is your pick? Are you picking the upset? And 2, explain yourself why you think this is the 04 Pistons.
This is, and when I say that, of course they're not exactly a mirror image. It's more about team versus Titans. And sometimes I think people look at when you have the big stars, and you remember, Chris, Shaq and Kobe, and I'm going to make the pick. The Lakers should win this, but I'm going to pick Miami. I'm going to pick Miami in the upset.
Hot take.
So I am. I'm just
There's not a fiber of your being that believes it, but you know what? Hot take.
But you know what? I tell you before, and you know I'm willing to step out there. I did it with obviously the Dodgers and the Nationals, and you remember we both talked about it. Like, the Dodgers should have won. Am I right? No doubt about it.
They're the better team.
They're the better team.
In the National League, at least for what?
They were
6 years, yeah.
And they wind up losing. Sometimes you come across and you see something that's so lopsided, and that was why it reminded me. As you know, Chris, you were there. You covered 2004 NBA Finals. I was there. Obviously, I was a columnist in Detroit during that time, and I remember people
Homer alert.
Just no, it wasn't a homer. People not
Why
saying.
Why did you have pom-poms then?
No, never pom-poms. But I did say that there was something about that team, and sometimes if you have the right mix and people underestimate you a little bit or take you for granted and think that just having the 2 best players is all you need, you can sometimes pull an upset. And we've seen many upsets in sports. I'm telling you, on paper, I can't make the argument on paper. But games aren't always won, and series aren't always won strictly on paper. If that's the case, there would be no such thing as an upset. I love what they've put together, Chris. Here's a couple things. Obviously, to me, if they cannot play in the half court, the Lakers aren't the greatest half court team. I think they rank 19th playing half court. Obviously, Miami has to own the three-point line, and the Lakers, who have played better from the three-point line, Chris, than earlier, if they struggle at all or don't make those threes that they have when those other guys, and I'm talking about, I know what LeBron and AD is going to give you. That's not the issue. Right. It's about the other people. You know, playoff Rondo, does he revert to regular season Rondo? There's Kyle Kuzma. Is he inconsistent, Kyle Kuzma? Does KCP go back to bricking? Does Danny Green not make any threes when he's wide open? There's a lot of things that would have to also figure out along with
free throws too.
Right, along with the Heat doing a lot of things right and playing it right. There's very little small room for error. And I remember what happened with the Pistons. They jumped on the Lakers in game 1, lost game 2, and then wound up going to Detroit to win the next 3. So my bottom line is the Heat aren't here by accident. They've knocked off the king of the hill in Giannis, and Milwaukee was the best team in the league. They also, you know, when you look at that Celtics team, Chris, talent-laden, supposedly the greatest young basketball coach out there. They beat him, and pretty convincingly. So they haven't, it's not like somehow guys were hurt, nobody was in their way, and they kind of skated in. No, they went through it. They beat the teams that were in front of them. And I'm going to say, I want to say 7 games, but I think that's too magical.
Fairy tale-ish.
Yeah, too magical and fairy tale-ish. I'm going to say they got to get it done in 6 if they're going to beat them. I'm going to pick the Miami Heat in 6.
I'll give you credit for your guts. And look, you're not the first one or the only one to say, hey, they remind me of the '04 Pistons. I think part of it is that, there have only been 2 teams, Rob, in NBA history that won championships without like a bona fide superstar.
No doubt.
That was the 79 Seattle Sonics.
Yep.
And they were a number 1 seed. And they had been to the finals a year before against Washington. It was a rematch in 79, and Seattle won it. And then, like you said, the Pistons in '04. Here's where the differences come into play, though. That Pistons team, they had none of those guys became superstars or probably Hall of Famers. I mean, Chauncey Billups probably has a chance, but none of them at this point certainly are Hall of Famers. But they were stars in high school, college, and even eventually in the pros. They were stars. They weren't superstars, but they had major league talent. Like Chauncey Billups was a number 3 pick.
But he was
that
on
means
6
you're
teams.
But I'm saying you're expecting him to do big time things because when you're drafted that high. Rasheed Wallace, a number 4 pick, and you remember Sheed. He was one of the biggest high school stars. So was Chauncey. They both were 2 of the biggest high school stars in their class. And then Rip Hamilton was a 7th pick. So those 3, that's much different from the Heat. That team, Rob, as you know, you were close to that team. They had experience. Chauncey's in his 9th year at that point. Sheed, I believe, was in his 7th year. Or Sheed, I'm sorry, was in his 9th year. Chauncey was in his 7th. Ben Wallace was in his 8th year. Rip was in his 5th year. This team, other than Butler, Jimmy Butler, and Goran Dragic, they are young. I mean, Tyler Hero was playing high school basketball 2 years ago. Duncan Robinson was playing Division III basketball 5 or 6 years ago. These guys, Bam Adebayo's in his 3rd year after what? One and done, I believe, at Kentucky. They are young. These guys, some of these kids, and I know they got heart and they've got fortitude and they've shown that they're ready for the big moments. But a lot of these kids grew up idolizing LeBron. And then on the flip side, Rob, in the other locker room, I'm not saying it's an excuse. The Pistons beat them fair and square, but that Lakers team was falling apart. Shaq and Kobe were at each other. Malone was old and banged up in that series. Gary Payton was never happy there because they ran the triangle and that didn't fit his game. I think he averaged 4 points in that series. And then Kobe was going through the Colorado mess, going back and forth to trials not during that series, but during the playoffs leading up to it. And so that team was falling apart. And this Lakers team is together. They're united. LeBron is very focused. So I get what you're saying, and obviously it makes sense on some level, but I think these are 2 different circumstances. I don't think this Miami team is as good as that Detroit team was.
I'm not saying they are because obviously the Detroit team won a championship, so you can't put them on that level. I'll never be that guy. You know what I mean? Like, they'd have to win first. I mean,
if they win it,
and then I'd have to look at them.
Right.
The only thing I'll say is in this era of super teams and not having a competitive balance and whatnot, to me, Miami makes up what I consider to be just a team, like a team put together that I like, and that's what I think more so. And I said that
column, you said they were the best team since that '04 Pistons.
Yes,
that was built. But hold on, I gotta push back.
Yep.
How about Golden State before they got Durant? I mean, that was a team built.
Yeah.
All their draft picks. You know what I mean?
I just maybe
that
because
wasn't like a super team until they just showed how good. You know what I mean? But that was organic.
Yeah, I guess I think that's fair. But I guess I was looking at it from the organic state of by the time
Spurs.
even they won. But by the time they won, Steph was a star. Steph is a one-name star. Do you know what I mean? Where there's no No,
They were stars. Yeah, I'm just saying
I'm
they
just
were
saying,
an organic team though. They weren't a
I get
super
that,
team.
but I'm saying they're not a star like when you say any of those Pistons or any of these Heat players on that caliber. Steph, you say is the greatest guard, small guard who ever played. Do you see what I'm saying? They don't have anybody you could put in that category. That's why I didn't include them. That's all.
All right. 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369. Are you getting the 04 Pistons vibes from this Miami Heat team? And what's your NBA Finals predictions? Are the Heat the reincarnation of the 04 Detroit Pistons? And will they pull off the massive upset?
Because it would be. When you think of it, Chris, and you've said this before, that Pistons 2004 upset might be the biggest in NBA history. No?
Yeah. And this, I honestly, Rob, just because Kobe and Shaq were at such odds, Malone and Peyton were old.
This would be bigger, you think?
I think it might, because like I said, look, Chauncey, Rasheed, and Rip were like prodigies. You know, they weren't like prodigies like LeBron, but you know what I'm saying? Like, Sheeds at North Carolina, All-American. Like, they were big-time players, even though they didn't become superstars.
Speaking of Rip, I talked to Rip Hamilton this morning, Chris, and he was like, I see why people are saying that about Miami, just about the way that they've been put together, and, you know, not having the stars, why people look to them, and why there's an affinity for that 2004 team. A lot of people
have been – well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like that Pistons team, Rob, a lot of those guys have been cast-offs, even with the big names. I mean, Chauncey was left for dead. Ben Wallace was left for dead.
Those were cast off and also rans. No doubt about it.
And I even thought Detroit was crazy when they traded Jerry Stackhouse for
Rip. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember this, Michael Jordan thought he fleeced Joe Dumars and was bragging about it. Because Rip used to be often hurt in Washington, and they never thought he was going to be the player that they thought he could be, and he wound up being it.
Remember, Stackhouse came in the league, I think as a rookie, averaged 20-something. And then he averaged, in Detroit, he averaged 30 one year, 29.
Was he first or second? He was first or second.
Yeah.
I think he was second. All right, let's get to the call. Sean in Sacramento, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Sean?
My uncle's from another mother, man. So now, if Chris is big time in the NFL during playoff season, I gotta say, Uncle Rob, you called it last year. Raptors 3-2.
Look,
made
man,
me a lot of money,
giving
man.
him his flowers. It was injuries galore. Stop it.
It is what it is. You got to play with who's out there.
Healthy,
Chris, you can't do that. Can you let him talk? Go ahead,
Uncle
Sean.
Rob called it to the game. 4-2. He called it to the game. Made me about 2 G's last year. But anyways,
let me say this, Sean, real quick.
So you about to bet on the Heat?
Hold on. Let me say this.
Put your money where your mouth is.
I've actually picked the last 3 NBA Finals exactly. I picked the 4-0 sweep with Golden State.
Oh, that was tough.
I picked
that was a hard one.
It's 4 in a row. I picked 4-1 the year before, and I picked LeBron and them coming back from 3-1. I picked all of those finals.
Rob, everybody was right when Durant got there. Those 2 years, everybody on earth was right in those 4-0.
Go ahead, Sean. Did we lose him?
We lost Sean.
Oh, sorry about Sean. That's my fault. Amir in Philadelphia, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio.
What's up, you two old goats? Before I go on,
I got to hear
this.
Man. I got to hear
this. I just got to say, you guys are amazing. You guys make my day. I'm going through so much right now, and I just can't wait to hear y'all calling. I just got to tell y'all that.
Hang in there, man.
Thank you,
Hang
man.
in there.
And as the theme song was playing, pray.
Yes.
Don't be afraid
to
pray.
Hang in there.
Yep.
Thanks, you guys. But don't get mad at me, Chris. You know I love LeBron, and I'm picking the Lakers. But I just hear me out. I'm gonna ask you a question. I just think Rob is on to something. I think Rob is on to something when I look at I tend to look at the pro of LeBron. So sometimes I like to look at the cons. And when I look at the cons, I just think about it like this: their leader is in their 17th year. Their team is top heavy as bleep. If you ask me, I'd rather have Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero over Danny Green and KCP. And AD, let's be real. He's soft. He's coming into the series with an ankle injury, and he just came off a series where he averaged 5 rebounds. And then it's just, all right, I could be. Rob could just
I
be
hear
getting
you. You know what this reminds me of? I'm talking to Amir and Rob.
Yep.
Because I get the 04 Pistons. I mean, it makes sense. But you know who else or what else this is reminding me of? Portland. I mean, how many people were picking Portland a month ago? How many people? I thought
Not
did pick
me.
5, but some people. No, not you, but you know what I'm
I
saying,
said
Rob.
they had no shot. I never believed Portland.
It's similar though. Barkley picked them. I think Stephen A. picked it to go 7.
Yeah, I never bought. I never
People were
bought into them.
legitimately thinking, man, Portland I don't know. Look at Lillard. So look, I get it. They're different types of teams.
Yeah, and what they've gone through to get there. Let's squeeze one more in. I know everybody wanted to get in. I'm sorry. Let's go to Mark in Sacramento. Let's do Mark real quick. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
What's going on real quick? Hey, Rob, I expected this out of you. You're consistent, man, so I respect that. I respect what you say. I respect it. But with that being said,
but you disagree.
Yeah, which is fine. But you know where I'm coming from, Mark. Right. I
hear where you're coming from. But now here's where I'm coming from, and I've said this since the beginning. They choked out Portland on the boards. They choked out Houston on the boards. They choked out Denver on the boards. They're going to choke out Miami on the boards. And I love Adebayo. But, man, Bam Adebayo. But, man, they throwing bodies at – they throwing Dwight, but they got attacking boards. And when LeBron James is getting 16 rebounds, you got a problem.
And I just think, fair. Rob, and look, we'll see. I mean, I can't sit here and say there's absolutely no chance. You know what I mean? But LeBron is focused. Like, I would be, the history with Miami. He knows what's on the line, legacy, 4th title. He's been dogged for only having 3 and 9 tries. Like, I can't imagine him, like, not being focused.
You know what LeBron's record is in the finals the last 9 games?
Probably 1 and 8 or 0 and 8.
1 and 8. I'm just saying.
1 and 8, yeah. Or 0 and 9, yeah.
I'm not saying.
Right.
I'm not
that
saying
was
that.
That was Kevin
but I'm
Durant,
just saying,
Steph Curry,
he's had
Klay Thompson, not Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero.
He's had a lot of L's in the finals. That's all I'm saying, Chris.
All right.